What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Reseller Greatness Podcast. We got my main man, Renzi, on the line. And you and I, we haven't spoke like this in probably a year and a half or 2 years. But the best thing about you, we speak the same language. We're always positive. We're always productive, always trying to, better the business, always trying to better the family life. And you can find a balance, and you are one of the ones that has found the best balance, I believe, because you can run a great business and also run a great home life too. It is possible. It does take work. It's two jobs, one job being dad, family guy, taking care of that, and one job taking care of the business. So for the folks that don't know you, bring them up to speed. Where can they find you? Who are you? What do you do? I'm going to enjoy this conversation. It's been a long time, man. And as you said before, what did you say? All ducks fly together. I believe in that.
True story, brother. It's good to see you. I appreciate you welcoming me on. We've been connected for years, and I agree with everything you just said. My name's Ryan. My wife Lindsay and I we go by Rinzy on all the social media platforms. We are full-time resellers, been reselling since 2017. We live up in Maine. We started our journey on Facebook Marketplace, just meeting people at the local grocery store, the local, police station, the local Stop and Shop, whatever. We would thrift our shoes, clean them up, and sell them, meeting up with people locally. We did that for the first 3,000 pair or first 1,000 pairs, and then we found out you can sell stuff online and you can ship it to people. How crazy of a concept. We wouldn't have to drive around the state of Maine. So we started using marketplaces like eBay, like Poshmark, Mercari, and then we really built our business on Poshmark for the next 4 or 5 years. Then we found out about Whatnot, and we said, "Hey, we like this idea of live selling, but we don't know anything about it." We did a bunch of research, watched a bunch of YouTube videos, watched a bunch of live auctions on Whatnot, and decided to try it out. That was about little over 2 years ago. And within, 30 to 60 days, we were off Poshmark and doing everything on Whatnot. We've been 100% on Whatnot for a little over 2 years. Well, I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit, but it's drastically changed the way that we function as a family, as a reselling family. When Lindsay and I first met, we were dating, we started reselling together, and then fast forward, now we're married. We've been married 5 years. We have two amazing children. My daughter's 2 years old. My son, who's he's on the radar right now, he's asleep. He's 9 months old. And so we're married, through reselling. We worked through apartments, through storage units. We have this house right here. I didn't tell you this yet, but we just went under contract on our dream property today.
Wow. Really? Tell
Um,
us about the dream property. What is the dream property?
it's so funny because when the first thing I thought of when you said let people know where they can find you was like, I'm barreling towards, I don't want anyone to know where to find me. Like
What is it? Like 50 acres? What is it? What is the dream
we
house?
got we got a ton we got a big chunk of land up here in Maine, a big chunk of woods, a big beautiful home that's already built on it,
Nice.
and then plenty of room to for the kids to grow up, have a very, very comfortable home, to run around in the woods, plenty of
Nice.
trails, and then there's a very good space for us to grow the business outside of the home dwelling on the property. So it's literally today, brother. We found out today that they accepted the offer. We're under contract, and so now we're just gonna sell this house and move everything into that one. But the whole point is it's the best next step as we're building our nest up here in Maine, and both for the family and for the business. So we're really excited. We've been, like I said, since 2017, so coming up on just under 8 years, full-time reselling. And as you can see behind me, we about a year ago, we switched from doing all shoes to doing all brand new with tag apparel through retail arbitrage, which I'm sure we'll get into. But my wife Lindsay and I are super grateful. We've been talking to you for years now. We love the reselling community. We've learned a tremendous amount. If we can, pour back into the community that has given us so much, then we're happy to share anything that we got going on.
Nice, man. Well, first and foremost, congratulations on the dream house. That is amazing. And also thank you to Lindsay for letting us steal you away for about an hour or so, because I know you got a lot cooking at home. But Man, I don't know. Where do we start? I know one of the things that you guys used to do a lot, and our trajectory is kind of the same. I didn't figure out that you can sell stuff online for a while. I was
Yeah.
meeting people at the gas station. I
Yeah.
was meeting people at Taco Bell. It didn't hit me that, hey, wait, I can sell stuff online. That opened up a whole new thing. So that is actually pretty funny. But you guys, and I do this a lot, you guys hit the road and you guys put miles on the vehicle to go out there and find the stuff. And I always tell people, I say, look, I want the most knowledge and the most amount of opportunities. And the most amount of opportunities comes with, unfortunately, putting miles on the road, meeting as many people as possible, going to as many flea markets as possible. You guys used to go to a ton of thrift stores back in the shoe days. You probably are going to a decent amount of stores, even with the retail arbitrage, because if you go to one store and they don't have what you need, you guys are right back in the car and you're going to do the same thing. So, like, one of the things that I admire the most about you guys and your strategy is that you've never been afraid to go out there and go get it wherever it was. That's where you guys had to go.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. I'll just echo what you're saying. I mean, you want to set yourself up for the best opportunity at success. And I think one of the things that you hear all the time in the reselling community is I love to source. It's my favorite part. I love to source.
Yeah,
Then they'll go to their local thrifts and that's it. And this idea of hunting down the best stuff is important, obviously, in a reselling business. And sometimes that means you got to travel. Now, the luxury of living in the woods in Maine is
right,
amazing, but like
right.
there's not a lot going on in the woods in Maine, and there's not a lot of thrifts. And so a lot of our sourcing has been the few thrifts that were here when we were doing that, and then we're traveling down into the Boston area, all the way down into New Jersey, doing big New England routes, which the idea is, like you said, have the most knowledge you possibly can and look at the most inventory you possibly can so you can be super selective while you're hunting and sourcing, so that it makes the rest easy, as
Absolutely.
opposed to just getting whatever's closest to me and then you're doing all this hard work to try to sell it. I'd rather put all the hard work up front in the sourcing, make everything else easier.
I agree with you. And I think there's two different ways of looking at it. Maybe not one is better than the other, but I have found more success with the best stuff at the best price versus the best price for the best stuff. So best price for the best stuff is the equivalent to going to the flea market and the guy who has the dollar table, it's in every flea market, trying to find the best item you can on that table for $1 versus
Gotcha.
trying to find the best stuff that you can find for the best price. And the best stuff that you can find may not be $1. I want everything for $1, but it's not. But I'd rather have the best stuff. I'd rather pay up a little bit more for the best stuff because the best stuff is going to sell quicker. And hopefully, if you could still buy it at the best price, you could turn a good profit. So when you're hitting the road, it is strictly best stuff at the best price. And if you don't find the best stuff at the best price at this thrift, you're not afraid to go to the next store and ultimately find it. So when you are doing heavy amount of shoes, the cleaning is always the biggest bottleneck for most shoe sellers. And for clothing, the bottleneck a lot of times is the processing part, but we can process 40 pieces in a load of laundry, where shoes is one at a time. And I know you guys, painstakingly went to as many stores as possible to pick up shoes that didn't need as much cleaning as possible.
Yeah.
So, did you guys take that kind of same mentality to what you're doing now? Again, most stores, most opportunities, best stuff, best price. Because look, people see me as like, the eBay guy. I sell on eBay, anti Poshmark, anti what? Look, tell them, set the record straight. The money is just as green on Poshmark and just as green on whatnot, right?
It's green. It's crazy. I mean,
It
there's
doesn't
some
matter.
people
It
that
doesn't
still use
matter.
Craigslist. I don't know what they're doing, but they're making money.
It doesn't matter. The money is just as green on Poshmark, just as green on whatnot. It doesn't matter where we are selling. We are resellers. We're not eBay sellers. So if you have to take your circus to Poshmark, go and do it if that's where your customer is. If you have to go to whatnot, go and do it. That's where your customers are. So you kind of, like you said, you kind of cut your teeth on Poshmark, figured out how to resell. A large portion of your experience is Poshmark, and then you pivoted or switched to whatnot. It has
Yep.
its advantages. It has its drawbacks for most. The advantages are obvious. No listing, no photos, potentially no storing. You kind of get paid today. Every time you run a show, you get paid. The downsides can be potentially is The whatnot model is more sometimes, and you've done a fantastic job kind of maybe getting outside of this, is the price that you pay for that luxury that we mentioned a moment ago is that it's more of an actual cash value. So a t-shirt on eBay, if you let it marinate, maybe you can get $100. The actual cash value today might be $10 on whatnot. So how have you found the balance between the simplicity of running the auction? And trust me, it's not easy. You guys have a bunch of systems. I see it. I can tell what you're doing, but it's not listing. It's not photos.
No,
How
yeah.
have you found that balance where, like, definitively you are getting the best bang for the buck? And the best bang for the buck is your sales price with the amount of processing that goes into it versus taking photos, taking listing, storing it for 6 months.
Yeah, that's a great question. And the answer is time versus money is the question that we're always asking ourselves, right?
Right.
Like,
Everybody.
how much time am I putting in? How much money can I get out? And
Mm-hmm.
you gauge what works best for you. But I'm going to use that equation to kind of answer your question.
Mm-hmm.
The benefit of whatnot is the speed of a sale, right? So you're not trying to, as I love the term, you're not trying to let stuff marinate. You're
Right.
trying to have it come in and out. A good analogy is like a gold mining facility, like that you see on TV, right? The idea is that there's little flakes of gold in the dirt. It doesn't mean that you just randomly start chucking dirt into these machines and it's spitting it all out. You want to test the dirt. You want to create systems that can run that dirt through the system without breaking the machines. And then, of course, you want to put the best quality dirt into the system in order to get the most amount of gold that comes out. Now, every little gold flake is tiny. And every once in a great while, you'll get a huge chunk of gold. That's the same thing
Right.
on whatnot. We'll make a crazy margin on one or two items that if we sell 300 in a morning, but most of it is just churning through. Now, we take it a step further. A lot of people think on whatnot when you're talking about time versus money that you have to sacrifice predictability by just doing dollar auctions. Like everything starts at $1, and I'm just gonna cross my fingers that people are gonna bid it up. I know I paid, I paid $30 for this jacket, this North Face jacket. I'm gonna start it at $1. It's up every other marketplace it's selling for X, right? Way higher than that, right? So I'm assuming, and so people when they get onto whatnot, they assume I got to start it at $1 because that's what everyone else is doing. So I'm gonna do that, and you cross your fingers. And what happens every time, and what happened with us is it's super volatile.
Right.
One day, the same exact jacket could sell for 250. The next day, it could sell for $1.
Right. Exactly.
So, like, with respect to the conversations that we've had, I don't want to sacrifice providing for my family with with that volatility. So we just start higher. We start thinking everything starts at $39. Now our average buy cost is like low 20s for everything, for hoodies, for joggers, for everything. But let's use a general term is low 20s. It's all brand new with tags, all name brand. Because we start everything at 39, we only need one person to bid to be
Right.
profitable. Now, of
Right.
course, it's an auction, so people bid it up, and our average is much higher than that. But what I guess the moral of the story is, with respect to whatnot or any other marketplace, you have to find out what works specifically on that marketplace. This stuff you see behind me, I'm well over 1,000 hours of streaming, so I know this stuff's gonna sell. In the beginning, I wasn't really sure. So I would test small quantities of retail arbitrage. I don't know if this Nike hoodie is going to sell. If it does, okay, let me buy a little bit more next time. If this North Face is going to sell, if this Adidas, if this whatever. So we test in small quantities using a systematic model on whatnot that respects that it's auctions, but also respects I got to put milk in the fridge for the kids. And then we just test and go and learn and learn. And it's not these astronomical changes, it's just these small little iterations throughout that allow us to benefit from the speed, but also put a tremendous amount of money in our pocket. Now, let me back up. We did cut our teeth on Poshmark, which is listing, which is a whole different
That's right.
system, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
When we started on Whatnot, it wasn't, I'm just going to bet my shirt that this thing's going to work and it's going to be great. We
That
still
was
were
going to be
listing
my
on
next
Poshmark.
question.
Two numbers that we were tracking. We still obviously track this, but right in the beginning, we were very diligent about saying, all right, we think this is going to be great. We see other people being successful on Whatnot. We're supporting ourselves on Poshmark, but like we don't want to just put all our eggs in the basket and if it doesn't work. So we started tracking gross sales per hour streamed, and then of course net profit per hour streamed. We still were, as we brought stuff in, we were still listing on Poshmark. And then as we were streaming, that number got bigger and bigger. Once we were making more in 1 hour streaming than in 24 hours on Poshmark, we were like, all right, we got some comfortability here.
More on both ends, gross and net.
Gross and net in 1 hour on Whatnot had to be more than 24 hours on Poshmark. I mean,
No,
generally
I
speaking,
get it.
the logic says that if you're only making money while you're streaming, you don't want to be live streaming 24 hours a day.
That's right.
But if you're making more money with just listing stuff, you should just keep listing stuff on another marketplace.
Yeah.
But if you can build systems where you only have to stream for 1 hour and it makes it more. Now, tech, this is where it gets crazy. We set a big goal. I thought a big goal. We were like, all right, if we can do $1,000 per hour on Whatnot in gross sales, that would give us enough comfort to say, all right, let's start weaning off Poshmark and let's put more into Whatnot. I mean, we've 10x that.
Yeah.
We're now after everything, we're now making thousands of dollars in net profit per hour, which means back to the family conversation, back to which I'm excited to talk about, is we now can stream for an hour or two and make way more money than 2, 3, 4 days on Poshmark. With respect to what we were doing, there's
Sure.
bigger sellers on Poshmark. There's much bigger sellers on Whatnot. But then it creates the predictability in our business. And then we can really start churning a system that says, all right, we'll stream for a couple hours, a couple times a week. That'll give us all our money for the week, all our money for the month, all our money for the year. Now that we're net way ahead, we can start creating schedules around vacations that we want to take. We can just take random days off and it creates predictability.
That's excellent, man. So, all right, I got a lot of questions here. I got a lot
Yeah.
of notes. This is great. Um, so with respect to Poshmark, you guys weren't chumps. You were doing a substantial amount on Poshmark, a couple $100,000 a year. It wasn't like so in order for something to come along and kind of, give credence to like, hey, this can be something big worth, for lack of a better term, abandoning Poshmark, just moving on from Poshmark. This had to be something that, you guys saw tremendous upside in. A lot of people ask this question. You have a social media presence, you have an audience, but I can tell you this. I look at your stories. I never saw you really pumping or pimping the Whatnot auctions. So it wasn't like, hey, this is who we are, come to our auction. I didn't see that a lot. I can't even say I saw that one time. May you have made some posts from time to time, sure, but I never saw, hey, we're going live, jump on. I haven't seen it. How
Yeah.
did you cultivate the audience on Whatnot?
Same as any other following, just one at a time.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
same as this amazing YouTube channel that you have, same as the eBay business that you grew, same as the Poshmark business and the relationships we grew. Now, I'll say a couple of things based on that question because we get that question all the time too. Or not, maybe it's not a question. They'll DM us and be like, "Oh, it must be nice. You got X amount of followers on Instagram, so they
Right.
call for." We have seen people with zero social media following come onto Whatnot and build a monster business. We've also seen people with multiple millions of followers come on and get
Mhm.
smoked and they're gone within a month.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
of course, if you've spent years building your social media following and you say, hey, I've got this live stream, come check it out, it's going to be filled with people way quicker than someone who doesn't, right? But
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, you got to ask people for their hard-earned money.
Right.
And it doesn't matter how crazy your social media following is, people get weeded out. You either have great stuff at a great price, you either provide great customer service, you either ship quickly or you don't.
That's it.
And people find out real quickly. It doesn't matter how many times you've liked a video or how long you've been following us. Like, if we don't give you a great price point, a great quality product, at it and ship it to you quickly and provide great customers and take care of you, they're going to be
Nailed it.
gone. So we
Nailed it.
focused on that. We did not take advantage of our social media following. And like you said, we don't really. I mean, we have posted, of course, being like, "Hey, we got a
But
stream
it's
coming."
not every day, all day following. I've never seen that. Never.
Yeah. Honestly, our following on Whatnot now is way bigger than any social media that we have now, and it's because the realness of someone spending their hard-earned money with us and then getting the inventory very quickly and being like, wow, this is legit. It's authentic. It's a great price point. I trust you. The reviews are amazing. Like, I'm gonna come back. And then of course with the live interaction, it's harder on Poshmark to build those. You can, but it's harder on Poshmark to build really deep relationships when they see my face a couple times a week in the morning when they wake up, and some people are buying and some people are just joking around with me and saying hello. That's like an added layer in terms of reselling where you're actually building deeper relationships that was natural to Lindsay and I, and we enjoy, and has just allowed us to grow a lot quicker and whatnot. So the moral of the story is, of course, if you spent years building a following and you start doing auctions, it's going to be easier to get people to come over, but it's not needed, and it's not a guarantee that you're going to be successful.
You nailed it. Good product, good value, good price, good service. You can have no following or a huge following. That works no matter what. If you have a huge following and do the opposite of that, you're going to get the opposite results. You absolutely nailed it. All right, so this comes up all the time, and you said that your buy-in costs compared to a thrifter, compared to someone in the bins, you're spending $20 per. How do you manage the cash flow in the beginning and now to have a buy-in average cost of over 20 bucks? Because that's not easy.
Carefully is the easiest answer. Carefully and honestly. I guess that's the best way to put it. I mean, one thing you said earlier that gave me a mental note is the progression of our reselling business since 2017. Our average buy cost for the inventory has gone up.
Sure.
And it's because what you said, we're looking for the best stuff at the best possible price. And that means the price is going to go up a little bit. Now, believe me, if I could find all brand new North Face, Nupsy down jackets for $2,
Right.
I would buy them. But
Right.
the reality is they cost a little bit more. So the average has gone up. And to answer your question, carefully, we're tracking everything. We're respecting our budget. We're setting goals. We're being very honest with ourselves. I use this word all the time because I see sometimes when I'm having conversations with other resellers that they're just not being honest with themselves. They just need maybe they need someone to say, hey, you paid more than you're saying for this item. You can't pretend that you paid less just because you want it to be less. You got to respect what your budget is. So, and this is where my wife comes in. She's amazing with all the numbers. We track everything. I'm a squirrel. I want to buy everything, and like I think everything's going to be profitable. And then obviously we look at the data and we say, all right, let's pick and choose. And we're a good team when it comes to that. But you got to just be very, very diligent about your numbers with respect to the marketplace you're using, and then just look at actual data, not the whole feeling. I feel like this, North Face Bear hoodie is gonna sell for $200. You can't do that. You gotta check the data that is available to you with respect to whatnot. Test small. When it goes great, you can go harder because there's more proven data that you have for yourself. And then how do you manage the money? Very carefully. I mean, our buying budget when we first started at the bins was $20 per week.
Right. Exactly.
Now we're spending, there's weeks, I mean, I'll just say we're spending more than $20 a week on inventory,
Sure.
tens of thousands of dollars per week on inventory.
Okay, so what does, let's say, a sourcing trip look like? You put the kids in the car. What is the plan? Do you have your old faithfuls where you say, okay, when we see this, we need 10 of these. When we see this, we'll buy a whole store if need be. What is the mind state, I guess, from A to Z when you hop in the car of someone that is operating this kind of business, retail arbitrage, live selling? And like you said, tens of thousands of dollars per week that needs to be spent to keep the machine going.
Yeah, so there's a couple things. It's starting with knowing what your actually budget is for that week. And that comes from, we've got yearly goals. We've got, you break that down into quarters. You break that down into, what do we got to do per month? And then you can break it down per week. And then you can break it down, what do I got to be doing every single day to hit that goal? That includes what your budget is. And then as you're tracking your numbers and sales are coming in, the flow of money, you got to say, how much money do I actually have on hand to spend this week or this day? How can I get the best possible inventory? Obviously, the most quantity as well, but you don't want to sacrifice quality. How can I get the best inventory at the best price with this chunk of money that I have? Whether it's $20 or $20,000. And then you build a route that gives you the most opportunity to say no to as much as you can, but still bring home quality and quality and quantity. Now, again, like I said, sometimes that means going into a store and you don't walk out with anything, or you walk out with a few pieces, or sometimes you find a great store for whatever reason, you 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 spend your whole budget at that one store. Then you take notes. Why was it good? Why was it bad? Build into the route, you add more. One thing I always tell people is you want to build a sourcing route where you either run out of money or you run out of space in the car.
Yeah.
You don't want to come home with money in your pocket and empty spots in the car. That's what you don't want to do because
Bro, bro,
then
bro, we speak the same language. I was literally at the flea market this weekend, and as I'm walking around with my little grandma card, I like to talk to the people later that are going to listen to the video. And I said, the goal today is to fill up the car or spend all of my money. That's the
yeah.
goal. That's
Yeah.
it.
And for logical reasons, right? Like you're putting miles on if you're walking, you're putting miles on the car. You don't want to drive around all day and just the up. Now listen, if you're building your route, that may happen, but it's important. Like if you do run into that situation, it doesn't mean just buy stuff to put in the car. It doesn't mean just
Absolutely.
spend the money. But if the
Absolutely.
route's not as fruitful and you're trying to support your family, it's time to start doing some more research and seeing where else you could go. Or you got to start talking to employees at the thrift, talk to employees at the retail location you're in, talk to the people at the flea market and say, when is the best time to come where I can buy a bunch of stuff?
Absolutely.
And they'll tell you. I
Absolutely.
mean, obviously,
They
you,
know. They
yeah,
know. They know everything. When I go to the flea market in a faraway land, I ask them, what day is the best day to come? They go, oh, come on Wednesday. I would never think Wednesday's the best day. And I say,
yeah,
great. What time is a good time for a guy like me to show up to get the best opportunity at a product? They say, well, the gates open up at 8, but if you get here at 7, they'll let you in. Come at 7. I was there at 7 on Wednesday, cleaned up. They
boom.
know the circuit. They know the routine. If you do RA, they know the circuit, they know the routine, they know the markdown policy, strategy, calendar. They have all of the answers. It's just up to us to open up our mouth and let them know that, hey, we want to buy these items. We want to give you business. This is what I'm here to do. And I agree to that 110%. So, all right. So when you have this strategy, do you guys like before you leave say, okay, we got to pick up, you know, at least 20 North Face Denali's, at least 25. Is it broken down like that, or is it like we got to get the best of what they have this route?
Yeah, I'll call it our grocery list. We've got a grocery list of what's
Okay.
working, and then we try to, check stuff off the grocery list first, and then as new stuff, for example, I keep looking at this. This is like one of our best selling hoodies right now. It's a North Face Bear hoodie. We have it in
Mm-hmm.
men's and women's. It's a couple different colors, and I would have never thought to pick that up, right? One day in our live stream, someone was like, "Hey, do you have the North Face Bear hoodie?" And I was like, "No," but I have I also have a notebook below. Like you're actually in where I stream in the pit that
Right.
I stream, and I have a notebook right here, and I just wrote it down, North Face Bear. Then while we're out there, as we're going through our normal checklist, our normal grocery list of things that have been selling well, we have the extra stuff too. And we say, oh, someone wanted a North Face Bear. This one's got a bear on it. Let's bring a couple in. We'll test it out. So the process is not we don't need 20 North Face Nupsy puffers. We need North Face Nupsy puffers at a great price. How many do they have? What's the limits that we can buy? If for example in an outlet, if you can only buy 5,
Sure.
uh, can I go to all the outlets? Can I hire someone to come with me to get 10? Can I hire, or do they not have any? So it becomes this like a bunch of different levers. Get the best inventory you can at the best price, maximizing your buying budget, and then go. And then with respect to having a good live stream, I don't want to have a live stream. This is like a thing that a lot of resellers mess up on whatnot. I want you to know that I have the 96 retro Nupsy puffer, but I don't want you to know how many.
Oh yeah, sure. Sure.
I want you to think I only got one.
Sure.
Now, if I've got multiple sizes, I want you to know I got a men's medium, a large, an extra large, and 2XL. But I'm not telling you I got 3 of each.
Absolutely.
I'm just gonna say this could be the last one. I don't know. It's an auction. You get
Yeah.
to pick which size you want. It could be the last one, and then that's where
Yeah.
the bids go up. And
Yeah.
then you're like, I actually do have one more. Or if it doesn't get bid up as high, you can be like, that's it for today, and you can run it again tomorrow. So the grocery list thing works well for us, and it's backed by data based on previous auctions. All the stuff that we keep track of. I mean, in any successful reselling business, you got to track what's working, and that's simply what we do.
You got it. Bang on. So Like at 6 o'clock in the morning, like you guys are streaming, there's 250 people in the chat popping. This goes against every kind of conventional reselling wisdom, conventional retail wisdom. How in the world, first of all, is there 250 people popping before they go to work? And what even gave you this idea? I know, family is first. I know that you are very intentional with the schedule and with the time. But Ryan, this shouldn't work.
Yeah, and it's such a great question, and the easy answer is we are constantly looking at how to build a life that we want rather than get sucked into this life that we don't want. And I think it's easy to get sucked into this, oh my God, I gotta source every single day. I gotta go to a bazillion stores. Oh my God, I gotta do X, Y, and Z. And the reality is you don't. You can now the business may look different with respect to what you want to have happen in your life. This is a perfect question, and I'll give you the answer. When we first started, there was two concerns that I had. The first one when I first started was there was people that had two, three, 400 people in their chat, in their auction. And I was like, if I go live at the same time as them, no one's gonna come into my stream. There's 200
Sure,
people over there. Like,
sure,
so, I'm like a bull heading into the storm rather than a cow running away.
sure.
And I scheduled all of our live streams at the same exact time as all the biggest sellers at the time. And I was
Go
like,
get
I'm
them,
either gonna
right?
weed myself out as a little minnow real quick, or I'm gonna find out that what my perception is not true. So at the time, again, these people had, I mean, some of the people had over 1,000 people in their chat at a time.
Wow.
And I set my stream up. And so here comes little Renzi. I go live. At that time, we were doing used shoes on whatnot. And I was going live and there was, 10 or 15 people in the chat. There wasn't hundreds, but we were selling. And so after doing that a couple times, I was like, holy smokes, I can make money even when the biggest sellers on the platform are streaming. So that got rid of that first conception. All those live streams were at night because everyone told us, even in the onboarding,
Everyone says at nighttime.
everyone says you got to be streaming at night. You got to stream if you want the best chance to win. It's got to be Thursday through Sunday because that's when everything's popping. And so the second concern I had was, yo, I like to go to sleep early.
Yeah, yeah.
Like to go to sleep early. So if I gotta do all my streaming at night, this might not work out for me. So we started streaming at night, and then like one of our best streams at the time, we started at like 7 p.m. We went to like 2 a.m. and we did like 15 grand in sales. But we went from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. $15,000 in sales was like, what? This is crazy. But I was like, this isn't repeatable. I don't want to be up till 2 a.m. Like, I want to get my sleep. I don't want to. The money wasn't worth what I had to do in my life to get that. So I said, let's bowl into this storm. Let's try it in the morning. Let's just see. Maybe it won't work. And we go live in the morning. And guess who's up and buying a ton of everything in the morning? All the Europeans, all the Australians. And dude, there's some knuckleheads that are still up from the night before here on the East Coast. There's some people, and we were like, "Good morning, everybody. I didn't know you were here." And they're all there. Now, of course, it wasn't hundreds of people when we first started, but
Sure.
people were buying, and people are literally, I'm telling them, stop bidding while you're driving to work. And they're like, "I'm just doing my shopping while I'm on the way to work." And I'm like, and so the reason I'm saying all this with this little story is we would rather make our money before 11 a.m., get everything shipped, and be able to enjoy the rest of our day and go to bed early. So we tested it. It very well could not have worked. And
Sure.
we would have tried something else. But in this case, we leaned into the life that we wanted, and it's working out great. And the numbers are getting bigger and bigger, even the earlier that we stream.
Nice. And, we talk about this often, and reselling allows you the flexibility to build a business around the life that you want to live. And if you want to live the life that is rock and roll 7 days a week, eBay reselling gives you that opportunity. If you want to live the life like you're doing, be done by 11 a.m., or what you're doing, even eBay, Poshmark, whatnot, it gives you the flexibility to build a business around the life that you want to live. And that is the most rewarding fact of reselling for most people, is that it allows you the flexibility to build that schedule. So a lot of people know you as a shoe seller, sold a tremendous amount of shoes, great shoe seller. You made the pivot to retail arbitrage, a lot of brand new tag Nike. I see some Carhartt in the mix, maybe. I see some North Face. Why the
Yep.
switch?
Yeah, it's a great question. I didn't want to. I was all in on the shoes, and a friend of ours had reached out when we were on Whatnot, and he had said, "Hey, I've got a bunch of brand new tag apparel. My wife got a great opportunity to move the family down to Puerto Rico for a new job. I got to sell everything in this warehouse. The speed of Whatnot is way faster than I can sell it where he was selling it. Can you help me out?" And I was like, bro, no, I don't know anything about clothes. I'm not gonna get the best money. I understand you want speed, but I don't want you to lose money. And he was like, it's not about the money. I just want to run it through the system. We'll split whatever, you get for it. I just want to move it, obviously, because he had this unique scenario. So Lindsay and I thought, wow, we want to help our friend out. There's no financial risk. Let's pretend like we did buy the inventory and see if apparel could be, a profitable model for us. Again, with no financial risk. It was just the labor that we had to put in. So we ran the stuff through. It went great. He moved down to Puerto Rico, and then Lindsay and I looked at all the numbers, and obviously we knew where he had sourced the inventory, and we were like, we should now there's part of this story that I haven't told you with respect to building a family and ease that allowed us to make the pivot towards clothing. So we tested the model, it went well. We were making the same margins or better on clothing that we were on shoes. However, back then we had this grand plan to build out sourcing teams that would go do the sourcing for us.
That's right.
So then we said, all right, on a unit by unit basis, if we have a team in California that's sourcing, it's going to be a lot easier for them to ship the inventory to us if it's clothing in a box than if it's shoes in a box.
That's right. Yep.
So just logically, because the margins were the same or better per piece on the clothing, and because it was going to be easier for us to build out a team to source the apparel, we decided to go for it. And now we don't do any sourcing.
Really?
We have teams all over the country that do the sourcing for us. They ship it up to us, and then we have a team that comes into the house to ship everything. So my work schedule is the morning live stream, and that's it.
So let's back up. So you're not hitting the road getting all this stuff anymore?
We haven't for a while.
Huh.
Now,
So
listen.
you have groups of people hitting their locations, I guess, with a list of potential items. They buy it, they get a little bit of a premium, they ship it over to you, you do the show, and people come in and pack.
Yeah, we developed this system, a team system.
I remember
So,
you were trying to do it with the shoes. I remember that.
yeah, we did try it with the shoes. It was successful with the shoes, but now with respect to clothes and apparel, each team member can make way more money in the same amount of time sourcing because they can source more pieces.
Absolutely.
We pay per unit. We give them the grocery list. Now, and if you're listening to this, I already know we've had this conversation. Usually the next question is, why would anyone get you the inventory? Why wouldn't they just sell it themselves? And the reality is not everyone wants to go live stream on Whatnot. And this
I don't
inventory,
want to. I don't want
right,
to.
right. This inventory at this cost might not be worth it on other marketplaces.
Yeah, you're right.
So because of the speed, and we pay very, very well. I mean, our sourcing team, now we approve every single item that they source. We have a text feed, like everything that follows I keep calling it the grocery list, that follows the grocery list. It's updated every single week. We're very diligent. It's not just like, here's 20 grand, you can go buy whatever. But there's even another level to this. We build the grocery list, we tell them where to go, we help them build out sourcing routes, and we pay them very well. I mean, our team is making, to spend 2 or 3 hours, $600-700.
They have to be making great money in order to give you the access to this kind of product. I get it. I pay my sources extremely well. Like they make
Yeah.
more money than doctors per year. I
Yeah,
get it, and that is money well spent. It
100%.
also it's brilliant because in that game, retail arbitrage, you have the buying limits. And
Yeah.
now when you have the team, those limits are much more relaxed due to the exposure. That is the brilliant part.
It's exponential. And now take it a step further. This is I didn't realize this now that we're deep into building a team around the country. I didn't realize, I just assumed that like Nike runs a sale, it's the same sale everywhere. It's not the case. Not at all. Now, they'll market it as the same sale, but what happens with each location is there's slight variables depending on the volume in their store, the sales they've done the previous week. And so list any big name brand, and there's like a whole deep dive that we could do on the intricacies of the sales that they run. Two resellers can walk into the same location and get drastically different results if one understands what's going on and the other's not really sure about the sale, and this tag says 97, so it's an extra 20% off, even though there's no marketing. This is a green tag, so it means it's the bottom price it's ever going to be. So it's the good time to buy it instead of just waiting. There's also some locations that don't have a limit, even though they say they do.
Right.
So then you add all these intricacies in, and the opportunity is insane. So Lindsay and I knew, go back to, we put thousands and thousands and thousands of miles, both
Absolutely.
in store and in the car. And we realized most recently within the last year and a half before we started building the team, what it would look like would I would be gone for 2 days. I would do a big loop around New England. And then as we had our first child, Lindsay's taking care of the kid, and I'm gone for staying in a hotel one night just to make the most out of every single mile. We realized with our second kid on the way, who's now 9 months, we were like, again, do we have to do this, or is there a way? Is there a way that we can figure out where I can do it? Now, people watching this, believe me, I have hired people, I've shown them exactly what to do, and then they go off and run their own business. That's completely fine with me. There's enough opportunity where I can hire someone else who maybe doesn't want to deal with all the other riffraff and make a tremendous amount of money for 2 or 3 hours of work.
It's brilliant, man. It's like, we all have to figure out, so like for me, I have people that go to the bins, they buy stuff, they sell it to me. I have people that go to thrift stores, garage sales, flea market, they buy stuff and sell it to me. And like before I was doing that, like people weren't doing that. So
Yeah.
like before you started doing this, people were not doing it. And I talk to people from the UK, I talk to people in Australia, and maybe they don't have the same opportunities like we'd have because they don't have the bins in the UK. I get it. But we have to figure out with the opportunity that's presented to us, how can we best work with inside of the constraints, all above board. Everything you're saying is above board.
Yeah.
How can we work with what we are being dealt and make it into the best opportunity as humanly possible? And that's exactly what you've done. You have the cards that you were dealt. You live in the middle of nowhere. You have two young kids who you guys want to be home with, which absolutely so. And you have these these constraints of being far out, wanting to be there with the family, but also wanting to run this business. What can I do? How can I think outside of the box and make this happen? And this is what people don't know. There's more room outside of the box than there is inside of the box. And we can make magical stuff happen when we put ourselves outside of the box. So like my entire empire is based on me figuring stuff out, much like you did. No one was there to hold my hand and show me, hey, this is what we got to do. Talk to these people and figure this out. Nobody taught you how to do this. No one told you, say, hey, you follow this blueprint and you do it. How in the world did you put all of these thoughts together and make this work? You've blown me away, and I'm not easily blown away, my friend.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And it's an easy question. I think, I mean, it's an easy question. The answer is an easy question. It's like, how can I live the life that I want? The hard part is executing so many brick walls, smashing into so many brick walls and being able to push on to the next one. Because the reality is everything I just told you, there's been a lot of riffraff that we've dealt with
Sure.
in order to get to where, and there's still riffraff. It's not perfect. We're still working things out. But the goal is, how do we not get trapped in our own business? How do we build a business that provides us with enough money where we don't have to say no to an opportunity because of money? We're not frivolous with our money. I'm not ordering Wagyu beef every night. Like I'm driving a Lamborghini. I got the dad van with the Thule on top. I got the Tahoe like for the winter. But we don't want to have to say no because of money. So and we also want to spend a tremendous amount of time with family and our kids and like enjoy life. But we also want to make a ton of money.
Right.
So like,
And you,
okay,
you
that
can
sounds,
do both. People
yeah,
don't believe, but you can make a ton of money and have a ton of family time. For me, I had a son when I was 18 years old. I've been a single dad. I have never missed a baseball game, never been a practice,
Yeah.
never missed an assembly. I dropped them off and picked them up every single day. Was
Yeah.
it hard? Hell yeah, it was hard.
Yeah.
But that's what you got to do. That's the
Yeah.
contract you sign when you choose to have a child as a family. You got to be there for the child and you have to be there for your business, and you can do both. So like
Yeah.
you said something that was interesting. You don't want to get trapped in the business. What
Yeah.
are things where you go, I don't want to get trapped in this, or I don't like the way this is going? What do you do in those instances with yourself, with your wife, and with the business? Because all three of these are independent entities. You want
Yeah. Yeah.
certain stuff, your wife wants certain stuff, and your business right behind you that wants certain stuff too.
Yeah.
That wants to be streamed right now, that wants to be streamed tomorrow. That's got to get streamed. So we can say, look, I've got all this freedom and I've got all this, but in order to have freedom, there's certain things that we have to do.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
you have to stream tomorrow in order to get the freedom that you want, because you can't just never stream again. Otherwise,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you're gonna go back and work at a 9 to 5.
I'll
So
start I'll start with the easy. So you got to basically operationalize everything so that you can figure out how to remove yourself from it. Like we both have had this general talk, like we've hired people to source for us, right? You got to be very good at sourcing to hire someone to do it.
that's right. Yeah,
When we hired someone to clean shoes, it's because I sat in a closet in our
that's right.
apartment. I sat in the basement cleaning tens of thousands of pairs of shoes. You can't just like not want to clean shoes and then hire someone. You don't know how to, you got to be able to teach someone how to do it. So you got to operationalize everything. And what I mean by that is you got to execute it over and over and over and over and over again in order to figure out what used to take me a week, how can I do it in 3 days? What used to take me 3 days, how can I do that in 45 minutes?
That's right.
And then what takes me 45 minutes, how can I find someone else to do that for me? And the only way you can do all that, because you can't hire someone and be like, yeah, this takes me 3 weeks to source 100 items. Can you go do that? Because there's no payment structure that's going to make sense for them to source 100 items in 3 weeks, or that's going to make sense for you. But if they can
Absolutely.
source 100 items in 20 minutes that are quality, and then you can build a payment structure around that. So now the big glaring thing right now is if I'm not streaming, we're not making money.
Mm-hmm.
So we've already started building out streaming teams and testing. It's not going as well as we'd like short term because it's not my face up there, I
Right.
think.
Yeah.
But if we develop systems and then teach those systems and start applying those systems, I'm confident. I see other people do it. So this isn't like something that I'm making up. The biggest businesses on Whatnot do have multiple people streaming. They have whole streaming teams. And then that way the person that is running doesn't have to be streaming all the time and the business can be cruising. So we're definitely barreling in the right direction and building in those systems. I actually still really do enjoy streaming, so I'm still doing it for a couple hours, a couple days a week. But to answer your question long-winded, that is the thing that would trap us right now moving forward. The things that have trapped us in the past is me assuming that in order to get this stuff, I would have to go travel around for multiple days to go to all the locations in New England. I started game planning, flying it to other parts of the country where there's pockets of places where I could then source and bring it back. And then I was like, let me just think creatively. Maybe I can create respecting our P&L, but also respecting the time of someone else to go in. Can I develop a payment structure where they make a tremendous amount of money to respect them, but I also can still make my margins? And we tested a bunch of stuff, and right now it's working really well.
So very amazing. Do you think with respect to the other people that are not your face, is it a matter of maybe what you have done? You started on Whatnot and you were just like them. You didn't have the face. It was just you.
Yeah.
Is it a matter of helping them building up the audience so now it's their face?
Yeah. I think it's a couple things. I think the spectrum of success on Whatnot is amazing to me. There's people that are very quiet. There's people that don't even show their face, first of all. You
That's
don't
right.
ever see their face, you just hear their voice. There's super like I'm animated because I'm I got energy and I like to make jokes, and I first thing in the morning I have a lot of energy. So I am animated, but there's people way more animated than me. There's like shows that they do. There's like all kinds of craziness. So what I'm trying to say is there's a full spectrum of very successful people, quiet to loud, showing your face to not showing your face. the best advice I could give is to be honest with who you are and how you function in everyday life. I am pretty animated and, when I'm talking day to day with people, because it's going to be easier to build your business long term if you're just being yourself and honest. I mean, this is like the dumbest, easiest advice that everyone gives, like just be yourself. And it's the same on Whatnot. I think people get sucked into trying to be a character and then they get burnt out, or thinking you have to be loud when you're a quiet person, or the opposite, thinking you have to be quiet when you're a loud person. And it's just not true. You can be exactly who you are. Now, no matter what you are, quiet or loud, you'll get weeded out very quickly if you don't have good inventory, you don't have a good price point. If you take multiple days to ship something on Whatnot, it's like an eternity. Like it's crazy. Uh, but it's like we've said before, it's all the basic stuff. Provide a great price point, provide great stuff. Obviously, it's got to be authentic. Obviously, you got to provide good customer service, and then the cream rises to the top. Like people want to buy great stuff, and if you have it, they'll come back. It doesn't matter if you have 5 people in your chat or 500. Most people want 500, but don't want 500. As soon as they experience 500, and imagine 500 people standing in front of you waiting to buy something. Everyone on Whatnot says they want it until it happens, and they're like, I can't handle it. It's
You're
crazy.
right though, because if you're very quiet, very subdued, very laid back, and you're running excellent product, it's gonna sell.
It's where people get into trouble is they think they're a salesman. Everyone knows what North Face is. Everyone knows what Nike is. Everyone knows Carhartt. I'm a promoter. I'm not a salesman. I don't need to convince you that the 96 Retro Nupsy in black and blue or in the black and yellow is a good product. When I say it, everyone's like, "You have that? Let's go. I want to
Right.
buy it." If I buy now, I'm not going to call out any other resellers, but if I buy something from Temu and I try to pretend it's a Nupsy, they may not catch you on the live stream, but when they get it, they're going to be like, "This isn't what you said. Bad review, not coming back. I'm also going to start talking a bunch of crap about you." And you get weeded out quickly. Or
Absolutely.
if you think it's good and no one's buying it, the market's telling you it's not that good.
And a lot of thrifters face this. They buy things that they like. They don't buy things that the marketplace wants. And the market is the market. It's undefeated. They will tell you if you have a good item, and they will also tell you that you don't have a good item. And them telling you that you don't have a good item, the silence is deafening on that. So if your
Yeah.
items are sitting in your eBay store and you're wondering why they're not selling, it's probably because it's not a good item at that offer that you're offering it at. Maybe the price point, maybe the presentation, maybe the your keywords or your title. The audience is telling you that whatever you are presenting to them is not a good item. So for that reason, I'm going to pass. So the market is undefeated, absolutely. So I see you post on Instagram every now and then. What do you got, like a $2 million challenge going on? What are you doing over there?
Yeah, so we take a month off every year and
Okay.
we travel up and down the East Coast, and we usually start in mid-January. We spend a lot of time in South Carolina. We spend a little bit of time in Florida and then a little bit mixed in between, but most of our time is spent in the Carolinas. The reason I'm telling you all this is we're talking about what's our year going to look like, right? It goes from the middle of January till sometime in the middle of February. Usually we come back either right before the Super Bowl or right after. And we have never done like $1 million in a calendar year. And we had just hit, I think, $1 million on Whatnot in
Nice.
a little over a year. And so we started the game. We said, what should we do this year? Coming off the vacation, mid-February, we're like, let's get going. And we like to set big scary goals, but we're like, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna sell $1 billion this year. Like
Sure.
it's not like moonshot crazy, but like big enough where it's scary, but if like reasonable, right? And so we discussed 2 million in 11 months because it was already, February. And that was a scary enough goal to say that would be meaningful for us. $2
Yeah.
million with, 20% net margin or above.
Nice.
And so we have been chipping away at it. And now what we do is we set the big goal and then reverse engineer, like I said, what do we got to do each and every single day in order to get there with respect to everything, sourcing, selling, shipping. We operationalize everything so that we have a daily goal, weekly goal, monthly goal. And we're ahead of schedule at the moment. And
Nice.
the reason I put it out there also is I want other people to hold me accountable. And I'll tell you what, I'll say this for everyone that's listening. It could also come across as like bravado and like bragging and all this stuff. But the way that I function as a reseller, I like to see what's possible. That's why watching you for years has been amazing because you've very clearly shown like big, huge numbers are possible, and consistency over decades is very possible, and it's inspiring to me. I want other people to get inspired by seeing what a dad of two kids is doing out of his basement with no warehouse, doing what anyone else can do. And so that's why I put it out there. Also, I'm still a tiny fish in this whatnot pond.
Mhm.
Like we're doing 6 figures per week right now. There's people that do 6 figures per day.
Yeah, right.
It's like and now listen, I say all that. We used to think 6 figures a year
That's
was
right.
like this moonshine. And it is. It's a lot of money, but our goals have gotten incrementally bigger. And now the 2 million was now next year. I'm gonna put it out to you actually. I haven't
Oh,
told
you
anyone.
going for it? You're going for it?
I think we're gonna try to do 1 million a month next year.
Wow. Okay, great. Great. You brought up reverse engineering, and people
Yeah.
say that. Bring us up to speed what $1 million a month looks like. Reverse engineer it.
Oh, so I mean, $1 million a month is well, to be honest with you, it's easy to see based on what we're doing right now because of how we're doing it. And then I'll explain what I mean by that.
Yeah.
We're very conscious about building our business, following all the rules. Obviously, we're paying all our taxes. We are always making sure that the stuff we source, we can get over and over and over again. Right? Now, it's harder when we were doing that with thrifting because it's like snowflakes, right? Everything's different with condition, but you try to go to as many high volume thrifts as possible to give yourself the best opportunity.
Yep.
So our business model is built around retail arbitrage and brand new with tag items, all name brand. So understanding how they work, these billion-dollar companies, and where we fit in allows us to create the projected consistency in these projected models. So what I'm trying to say is our $2 million this year is honestly, this is going to blow people's mind. We go to less than 10 stores. Less than 10.
As a whole group,
Yeah.
not you, your whole crew.
The whole crew, Tech. And there's over 6,000 locations. We go to less than 10. This is also comfort for me because I'm like, there's so much opportunity that everyone can do what we're doing and still we're all going to get our piece of the pie. We less than 10.
10 stores. I can go to 10 stores.
Right.
Like myself.
Dude, less than 10. And now, so back to your original question, what does $1 million a month look like? I mean, 20 of those stores. I mean, now back it up. What in order to get to that point, this is based on what the question you asked earlier. We need to keep being honest with our numbers, being honest with what's working, create little efficiencies, and our buying budget has to continue to grow. Like
That's right.
I can't just snap my fingers and be like, we're gonna do $1 million next month because our buying budget has to grow. I want to
Yeah.
keep those margins. We're hovering around 20, 21%. The last couple of weeks we've actually been trending at 23%. So like why is that? And we're looking at our numbers and we're looking at the inventory. We're also looking at the systems we're using during the stream and saying, what are we doing during the stream that's helping us increase our average sale price? Because at the end of the day, I don't want to hit 1 million a month streaming 12 hours a day. I want
And,
it.
and also hit 1 million a month and have nothing to show for it.
Right. Or free time. And in order, we're talking big numbers right here, and I'm very cognizant of that. But in order to get there, it is incremental. Now we'll have a conversation in the future, and we'll be talking. Oh my gosh, we're doing 1 million a month, and my addicted mind is gonna be like, we could probably do 10 mil a month, or I'll be like, all right, I need to slow down. Like
It's
this is
steps. It's
but
steps.
this conversation that we're having right now, all the things that we're doing, Lindsay and I were doing when our goal was one used pair of shoes sold per day, meeting
Mm-hmm.
up with someone locally. Same exact conversations. It's
Yeah.
just different numbers. How do we create efficiencies? All right, we got to meet 1 person per day at the grocery store. And then if we want to sell 2 shoes per day, 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 local delivery. Why don't we just set up the delivery at the same grocery store and meet at the same time?
That's right.
So it's that same logic of I don't want to, meet someone 50 miles over here, 50 miles over there, but how can I create the efficiencies? Oops, same meeting spot. Same thing with whatnot. How can I be at two places at once? I build out a sourcing team. So our team over in this state is also sourcing at the same time as this state. So we can spend our buying budget in one day, get the best inventory at the best price. It all gets shipped to us. It arrives in a couple days, and then 2 days later, it's all sold, and then we can do it all over again.
And then you just do it again. Yeah. So like
Yep.
when you're trying to create the efficiencies and streamline stuff, it's always every single time addition by subtraction. Like you said, you can't be in two places at one time. So you had to subtract one place and have both your buyers meet you at the same place. Addition by subtraction. So like when people want to speed up their process, when people want to improve their efficiency, it's always what are people that are faster than me not doing that I am doing? So a lot of
Yep.
people will see me taking photos and I can take a picture in 30 seconds. Look at your process and see what you're doing that I'm not doing. Because that addition by subtraction is the only way that you're going to speed up the process. So for you, you have subtracted sourcing in general by leveraging other people to go do it. So now you are hitting 10 stores in one day because you have subtracted going to one store every 2 hours because the next store is a 2 hour drive.
Yep.
Now, how are you able to get that? You look at your system and you go, you know what? I'm going to force thrift stores this week. I need to subtract something in order to get better because people that are finding more items, finding better items, are doing stuff that you're not doing. And a
Yep.
lot of the stuff, the extracurricular activity, is where the bloat is, where our processes slow down, and we're not enough. We can't get enough widgets up to necessitate the life that we want to live in the time that we want to do it. So for
Yep.
you, you can run the same exact business that you're running today, but like you said, you'll be catching a flight, you'll be in a city, you'll spend a week there, you'll come back home, and you can stream it. You would make the same amount of money.
Yep.
However, at the price of what?
Yeah.
Everything else
Everything.
that you're working so hard for that's so important to you.
Everything. I mean, it's a constant, to echo what you're saying, it's a constant question of what do we want to actually have happen? I think a lot of resellers don't even know what they want to have happen. Like, hey, I want to
That's
pay
a
all
good
my
question,
bills.
man.
I want to pay all my bills. And I'll say, all right, cool. Well, how much are your bills? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, all right, take your shoe off right now and throw it and hit the bullseye on the target.
Where's
And
the
they're
target? Where's the bullseye? I don't know.
right. If you throw it, I'm like, how you don't even know where the target is. So the reason I say that is it's a constant question of like, what do we want to actually have happen? Sometimes you get creative with that. Like sometimes it's like, well, what if I don't even want to leave my family to go source? And then it gets scarier. Like, I don't know if anyone will source it. And then is shipping the stuff up to me going to be too expensive? Like, but then you start working through those questions and finding answers. And sometimes you find answers that you don't like, but it's honest. And sometimes you're like, wait, there is an opportunity here. And sometimes you got to make a little tweak. And then you say, is this what I want? Is this what I want? Is the money that it's churning out worth the effort? And, or is there more room for efficiencies? Now, with respect to whatnot and what you're looking at right now, when I did my first stream, there was like a rack of hoodies like way over there. And then there was like one over there. And everything has come in. So it's like within arm's length.
Yeah,
So I can run the streams way quicker.
that's right.
But I'm trying to give you more examples on different marketplaces and different ideas. I call it spaghetti mapping. A friend Emily gave us that term. I didn't make it up, but like where you're walking around, how do I do less steps on the
That's
stream?
right. That
And
matters.
when I'm photographing stuff, if you're listing, how do you create less friction to accomplish a task that's crucial for your business so that you have more free time? And then obviously that leads to uh, more profit in a short amount of time. I mean, it's the classic, how do I make more money in less time in order to live the life that I want?
That's absolutely right. And when I did the warehouse tour, I showed everything that was set up. The distance between the photo and the stacks, if it's one step this way and one step this way, you're taking two steps 250 times. That's 500 steps. That's like a quarter mile every single day that you are walking one
Crazy.
step at a time. So I made the reseller ruler, right? Because I used to have a
Yeah.
dedicated measuring process. And that process, conservatively, let's say it takes 30 seconds to measure one piece of clothing. Back then, I was doing 120. 120 times 30 seconds is an hour, 1 hour per day. Okay. 1 hour per day is 7 hours per week. 7 hours times 52 weeks is 364 hours a week divided by 24. That's 15 days a month that I was spending 30 seconds at a time measuring clothing. 15 24-hour days, 30 seconds at a time at 250 a day.
That's how you got to think, though. You got because if you skip that, look, that's all that time.
15 days a month, a
That's crazy.
half of 15 days a year, a half a month of my life was
Yeah.
spent measuring this every single year. And I had to eliminate that process
Yeah.
to add 15 days a month, 15 days a year to back to my life. And with 15 more days a year, I can work on my business, I can work on my family, I could do so much more, one step at a time, 30 seconds at a time. Now, if you're listing 5 a day, 30 seconds doesn't matter that much.
Right,
But
right, right.
as you scale to 10 a day, it starts adding. As you scale to 20 a day, it starts adding. If you're streaming thousands of dollars per hour, you better get that spaghetti model, that spaghetti map fully functional. Otherwise, time is money when you're on the screen, and we got to get those sales running, those auctions running.
Let me take it a step further. The best time to figure this out is when you're only listing 5
That's
per
right.
day. Because if you figure it out then, it's going to be a lot easier as you scale. If you've tried to scale, it's going to be a lot harder in order to do that. I mean, you're going to feel the effects of the extra 15 days, but Lindsay and I always look at these little things that happen and we're like, all right, if we grow, does this mean that
Mm-hmm.
this thing is going to happen exponentially? And if we don't like that thing, we're like, all right, we got to figure this out right now. The sourcing is a great example. When we first brought in 100 pairs of shoes, we were like, holy smokes, this is insane. We got 100 pairs of shoes today. And then we're like, how do we get 100 pairs per store? How do we get 100 pairs in 1 hour? How do we hire someone else to get the 100 pairs for us? And again, that's just continuing to allow us to hit these big numbers for us and still have the extra free time.
And then I think like even if we never hit it, I think it's still healthy to have your brain turning and thinking about this stuff.
Yeah.
So like even if you never do $12 million a year, $1 million a month, it's healthy to think about that, to get the ducks in a row in your head mentally, to figure out how this needs to be done. Like you said, reverse engineer it, because you already know at my average sale price, I need to sell X amount of items. I know how many items I can sell per hour. So I know how many hours I'm going to need to stream in order to do $1 million a month. You've already got it. It's all right there. And we have it in our eBay stores as well. We know, hey, if I sell 5 items a day with a 500 item store, that means for every new 100 items that I implement into the store, that on average you get one more additional sale if all things are made the same. If I have 600 items, I sell 6 a day on average. If I have 1,000 items, I sell 10 a day on average. How do I get my store to this size and sell 10 a day, because I need to sell 10 a day at $20 profit to make $200 profit, because that's my profit goal for the day? All of this can be mapped out. All of this can be implemented. And I think it's very healthy to sit and think about it, even if we never get to those levels. So look, man, I want to keep you much longer, but I also want to be respectful of your time. And if I ever want to get you on the podcast again, I can't keep you all night, which is what I want to do. And I also want you to come on the podcast again. So I'm not going to keep you forever. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe, maybe we chat every 6 months or so on the podcast, get an update. I like talking to you, man. You always come very positive, very balanced, very intentional. And I admire that about you. You have never shied away from the work. You have driven. And as someone that drives a lot, I know what it takes. I know what it is. I know it sucks. But if there was something better that we could do at the time, we would be doing it better. But
Yeah.
at the time, that was the best thing that we could do. So I admire everything that you guys got going, truthfully, and I highly respect everything that you're doing. But I do want you to come on again. So I'm not going to keep you and be selfish for a long time. So hopefully we meet again. But I do appreciate you for jumping on. I know you don't do a lot of these. But I have a lot of respect for you and your business, and that's straight up, because the things that you talk about are things that I subscribe to and I agree with. So I just wanted to tell you thank you for jumping on. And if you got any final words for these fine folks before they see you again, hopefully
Yeah, yeah.
give them the
I
good news.
first of all, that's super kind of you. I have a tremendous amount of respect for you, for the same reasons. When I say ducks fly together, from the classic movie Mighty Ducks, it's because you want to surround yourself with people like yourself who have put in the work, who are very transparent. It's no BS. You can do whatever you want, but you got to be accountable to yourself. And you've always done that. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for you, the fam. We've obviously known each other for years. So from my family to yours, we want to stay connected as we both continue to grow and have an amazing life. Count me in. I mean, I'll come on whenever you want. I love chopping it up with you because
Nice.
it gets me fired up. And if in us having a great conversation,
Absolutely.
it can unlock something for someone that's watching this. I mean, I'm not saying you have to stream on whatnot. I'm not saying all I'm saying is from a proud father to another that they just the opportunity is too big. The opportunity is too big to make any excuses. The opportunity is too big to not live a life that you actually want to live. So ask a lot of questions. You can reach out to us anytime if you want. I mean, I'm always answering questions in the DMs. We're an open book. Again, it means the world to me that, we're friends. It means the world that you invited me on to share a little bit. Count me in every 6 months, every month, whatever you want to do, brother. I'm in.
Let's
And
go.
we're gonna keep building our nest, our family up here in Maine. But as we start to travel around, maybe as you're traveling, we'll bump into each other and
Yeah,
grab some
for
lunch, man.
sure. Absolutely. I for one am inspired. Even like you said, the $2 million post, it's huge. I get it, but it inspires me, man. So like keep doing it, keep chipping away at it because I'm rooting for you all the way down here. And I know
Appreciate
you got this. So I appreciate everything. It is inspiring. We will inspire someone with that conversation, even if it's one person, and that's mission accomplished for me. So I
it. Love it.
appreciate it, my man. As always, be great. Thank you.